My sister has been infatuated with my boyfriend for 12 years. My boyfriend is extremely annoyed by her. Until my sister got sick and lost her memory, forgetting everything related to him. My boyfriend suddenly panicked. He stayed by my sister's side, begging her to remember him. But he didn't know that my sister wasn't sick. The one who is about to forget everything is me. In the 5th year of my relationship with David, we were going to get married. He accompanied me to the bridal shop to try on dresses. I changed one outfit after another. He kept a gentle smile on his lips the whole time. What should I do? Every outfit looks great. My wife looks good in anything. I teased him on purpose. Who is your wife? David laughed and hugged me. It's no use denying it, we're getting married next month anyway. You can't escape even if you want to. It was at this moment that my phone suddenly rang. The caller was my cousin, Susie. When he saw the caller's name, David's face instantly turned cold. He raised his hand and hung up the call. However, just a few seconds later, the phone rang again. This happened several times. I sighed and said, "Answer it, if you don't. She might come straight here later." David rubbed his temples, annoyed, and pressed the answer button. On the other end of the line was a suppressed sobbing voice. "Did you take her to try on wedding dresses?" David replied coldly, "Yes." The sobbing on the other side immediately became more mournful. "Are you getting married? Please don't get married, okay? David, I'm begging you. I'm sick. The doctor said I can't take any more stress. Otherwise I might lose my memory. I'm not afraid of losing my memory, but I'm afraid I'll forget you." David finally couldn't hold back. "What new trick is this, Susie?" Susie started crying desperately. "No, David, it's true. That would be great," David sneered. "If you forget me, it would be what I wished for." Susie was silent for a long time, as if she had finally given up. In the end, she choked and said, "David, you will regret it. If I forget you, you will lose the person who loves you the most in the world." David couldn't listen anymore, and hung up the phone. He looked at me, both angry and amused. She is crazy, even coming up with such a lie. David didn't notice that my hand holding the wedding dress was trembling slightly. I knew Susie might not be lying. This illness is real. Selective amnesia is a hereditary disease. It has a long incubation period. Patients may experience severe headaches, dizziness, or even sudden coma when subjected to extreme emotional stress. They then selectively block out all memories that cause them pain. Susie and I have a mutual aunt who had this disease. After her husband of 10 years cheated on her, she was heartbroken, lost her appetite, and was sent to the hospital after fainting. When she was discharged, everything seemed normal, except she couldn't remember anything about her husband from the past 10 years. This disease is maternally inherited. Theoretically, Susie could indeed be a patient. I looked in the mirror and changed out of the wedding dress. David was silent beside me the whole time. I said, "Let's choose this one for the toast dress?" But David's mind seemed to have wandered off. Susie is hopeless if she can say such lies. My heart sank, and I asked softly, "Didn't you always hate being pestered by her?" Over the years, David was always annoyed by Susie. Back then, Susie was at school, and she sprained her ankle during a dance rehearsal. Not only did the other girls not care about her injury, but they also blamed her for delaying the rehearsal progress. David happened to pass by. As the student council president, he reprimanded those sarcastic girls, then carried Susie to the infirmary. To David, this was just another ordinary good deed. However, Susie saw David as her only light. For many years after, she chased after David. After David and I got together, Susie was so heartbroken that she stopped eating and drinking, but she still didn't give up. Whenever David and I argued or had cold wars, Susie would message him, "If it were me with you, I would definitely treat you very, very well, and never make you feel this bad." When David and I almost broke up due to long-distance issues, David drank to drown his sorrows. Susie somehow found out and went to take care of the drunk David, even taking off her clothes to hug him. That time David was furious. He pushed Susie away. "Aren't you shameless? How many times do I have to say it? I've never liked you. The person I love is your sister. Susie cried, stubbornly repeating, David, one day you'll understand. No one will ever love you more than I do. David was going crazy. If it had been another girl, he would have blocked and deleted her long ago. But Susie was my cousin. Her mother entrusted her to us before she died, and my family promised to take care of her for life. After all these years of trouble, now that David and I are about to get married, maybe Susie has finally given up. So I looked at David and said softly, if Susie really forgets you, she won't be in pain anymore, and you won't be disturbed anymore. Isn't that good? David came to his senses, held me, and said gently, my wife is right. But his brows showed no joy. The next day, David and I went shopping at a nearby supermarket. Unexpectedly, we ran into Susie. David's face turned cold as soon as he saw Susie. Even I couldn't help but want to look away. Ever since Susie knew David liked me, she treated me like air. Whenever we met head-on, she always ignored me. But this time, Susie ran over with enthusiasm. Cousin, she said, what a coincidence. Are you also shopping at the supermarket? I suddenly fainted last night and was sent to the hospital. But now, the checkup showed nothing serious, just a little weak, so I thought of buying some ingredients for soup to nourish my body. After Susie said all this, her curious gaze fell on David beside me. Is this your boyfriend, cousin? David was stunned. He looked at Susie, his gaze fixed, as if he couldn't believe it. Susie seemed oblivious, smiling as she said to me, your husband is so handsome. I'm going to check out now. Afterward, I was waiting to eat my cousin's wedding candy. She pushed the shopping cart, wanting to leave, but David suddenly reached out and grabbed her wrist. Susie, he said in a low voice, is this fun? Who are you pretending for? On the way back in the car, David kept muttering, is she crazy? What is she doing? Is it necessary to pretend to have amnesia like this? We've known each other for 12 years, and she tells me she doesn't know me? The farce earlier ended with Susie fleeing in panic, but David seemed unable to let it go. He kept cursing Susie to me, saying she was full of lies, definitely playing hard to get. I looked at the scenery outside the car window, and my head began to ache faintly, from my temples to the brain, hurting so much that my vision became a bit blurry. I wanted to say something, but had no strength to do so. For a long time afterward, Susie disappeared. In the past, David would receive her messages every few minutes, all about daily life, what she ate for lunch, how beautiful the sunshine was today, a nice song she heard, whether he wanted to feed cats together. David never replied, but she kept sending these messages, for many years. But now, Susie was gone. I saw David checking his phone every half hour, but Susie's page was empty, with no new messages coming in. I asked David about it, and he just said that it suddenly got quiet, and he was just not used to it. But he was so not used to it that he was restless, often distracted. Soon it was the weekend, and David accompanied me to visit my grandmother. Passing by a coffee shop, David suddenly stopped. Following his gaze, I saw Susie sitting by the window in the coffee shop. Today, she wore a bright red dress, beautiful and eye-catching. Across from her was a man in a suit. David asked in a daze, what are they doing? I said, it looks like a blind date. David seemed to be struck by lightning. His body swayed slightly. All the way to my grandmother's house, he kept a solemn face, and didn't say a word. An hour later, Susie came back. She greeted David and me enthusiastically, then moved to my grandmother's side, chattering about her day. Grandma, I just met a blind date. He's so handsome, tall, and sweet, kept complimenting me on my beauty. He asked me to be his girlfriend, and I'm planning to say yes. In the kitchen corner, David was helping my grandmother with the ingredients. Hearing Susie's words, he suddenly cut his hand. Blood oozed out, but David seemed unaware, standing there dumbfounded. Susie exclaimed, brother-in-law, your hand is injured. She rushed over, grabbing David's hand to inspect his wound. David suddenly used his injured hand to hold Susie's hand. Susie's face turned a shy crimson, but she immediately withdrew her hand, lowering her head. I'll get you a band-aid. During dinner, David wore Susie's band-aid on his hand. He kept turning his head to look at Susie, while Susie was bowing her head, messaging her blind date. Every time she smiled at her phone screen, David's expression would become complicated. His gaze was filled with pain and loss, and he ate distractedly. My head throbbed violently, waves of nausea hit me, but to not worry my grandmother, I forced myself to eat a few bites. After dinner, I lay sickly on the sofa, but David's mind wasn't on me at all. His eyes kept drifting toward the window, where Susie was loosening the soil for the flowers in the garden. My grandmother was helped by the nanny for a nap. I told David, let's go home. I'm not feeling well. Let's leave after dinner. It's rare to visit Grandma. David refused without a second thought. For a moment, I really wanted to ask David, do you want to accompany my grandma, or do you think this is the only place where you can see Susie? But my head hurt too much. The pain was so intense that I couldn't say a complete sentence. I said, I'm going to take a nap. David thought I was asleep, but he forgot that the bedroom had a view of the garden. I saw him walk into the garden, and Susie took the initiative to walk up to him. They stood side by side for a while, then Susie suddenly spoke. I rejected him. David turned sharply to look at Susie, his eyes full of hope. Why? Susie shook her head. I can't say. But she still said it. Because I seem to like someone. David's hand clenched suddenly, and his bandaged wound started bleeding again. Susie exclaimed, your hand. But David just lowered his head to look at her. Who is it? Susie lowered her head. I don't know. I know nothing. She bit her lip, her eyes turning red. Why is it that, even though I don't remember anything, my heart still beats so fast when I see you? Susie finally cried. I wanted to find our chat history, but on the day I went to the hospital, my phone broke. I seem to remember, there was someone I loved for many years, and I always felt that person was you, but I didn't dare to be sure. I want to know, is that person you? If it is, can you accompany me to find my memory? David was silent for a moment. Susie sensed his silence and gave a bitter smile. Sorry, I must have remembered wrong. You're my sister's boyfriend. Sorry for bothering you. I won't disturb you anymore. Susie got up to leave, but David suddenly reached out, grabbing her. You just said, let me help you find your memory. Can lost memories be recovered? As if unable to restrain herself, Susie began to cry. I don't know, but if the person I love the most can't help me regain my memory, then my amnesia really has no cure. Susie sobbed uncontrollably, her expression fragile and helpless. David finally couldn't hold back anymore. He hugged Susie, like he was holding a precious treasure regained. Don't be afraid, he comforted softly. You will definitely get it back. I'll be with you until your illness is cured. Thunder rumbled, and a heavy rain suddenly poured down. I opened the door and ran into the storm alone. David seemed to hear the sound and caught up with me. Linda, it's raining so hard. Where are you going? However, he hadn't run far when Susie also came running out. She hadn't gone a few steps before she let out a scream and fell to the ground. David instinctively turned around and went to her side. What happened? Susie clutched her ankle. I twisted my foot, it hurts. David tried to help Susie up. At that moment, Susie suddenly hugged David tightly. I think I remembered something. The dance performance. I twisted my foot, and you were the student council president. Susie held her head, leaning weakly against David's chest, seeming to be trying hard to remember. David held his breath, hoping she would recall. No one noticed me in the pouring rain. So that's how it is. He didn't want her to forget. He likes her too. This is a long story of secret love coming into reality. The girl with a tragic past, finally, with perseverance, waited for the boy who lit up her life. He had long been deeply in love with her, unaware of it. But what about me? What am I? When I was 18, David extended his hand to me at the graduation dance. Linda, may I have this dance? When I was 20, David came abroad to stay by my side when I was sick. At 21, I finally agreed to be David's girlfriend. He was overjoyed, setting off fireworks all night for me. Linda, I want to treat you well for the rest of my life. In the following 5 years, we overcame countless difficulties to be together. He said he loved me, only me. So I chose to believe him, enduring all the harassment from Susie. What was harassment to me was sweetness to him. There were always 3 people in this relationship. I hailed a taxi in the rain, gave the address of the hospital, and then fell into a coma amidst the intense headache. A long darkness, scenes seemed to flash through my dreams, and then a giant eraser appeared out of nowhere, wiping away all the painful images. When I opened my eyes, I was in a doctor's office with white walls. In front of me was a man in a white coat, with a cold outline and deep eyes. His hand with distinct knuckles was gently tapping on the medical records. I recognized him. The youngest son of the James Group, also the youngest expert in the field of brain neurology. James had been studying abroad, and he just returned to the country last week. Awake? James handed me a cup of hot milk tea. You're the best among all my patients, still knowing to take a taxi to the hospital before the onset. He asked me, do you feel uncomfortable anywhere now? I held the hot milk tea, feeling no headache, no blurred vision. Everything was comfortable. James began to ask me some questions, such as my name, parents, school, and friends. I answered fluently. Just when I thought there was nothing wrong with me, James suddenly asked, what do you remember about your fiancé? My stretch instantly stopped. I looked at James in horror, and he looked at me, his cold eyes without a ripple. After a long while, I stammered and asked, I have a fiancé? James lowered his head, flipping through previous records. He had a handsome face, but he always looked indifferent. When he had no expression, I couldn't tell what he was thinking. He didn't speak, so I became more and more flustered. My fiancé wouldn't be you, right? James was about to take a sip of water, but hearing my words, he coughed violently. His pale face turned red from coughing. After a good cough, James barely waved his hand. No. I said sat back, and didn't know why, but I felt a little disappointed. James glanced at me, smiling. He gave me a prescription, the same medication as before. Take it on time. After prescribing the medicine, James escorted me downstairs. Under the corridor lights, his skin was pale and clean, with long eyelashes and a high nose. Such a beauty, I couldn't help but say, are you really not my fiancé? James's face showed no expression. He said, Linda, don't think you can tease others, just because you lost your memory. I shrugged. Okay. I reluctantly admitted that the memories in my mind about James were completely intact, not missing a bit. I met James while studying abroad. The youngest son of the James family was approachable. He could afford a top-class mansion, but he lived in a student apartment like us. But that didn't stop him from being a prodigy, so cold and distant as if from another world. At that time, someone told me James might have a crush on me. I laughed and waved it off. Impossible. I had that much self-awareness. But James was indeed good to me. I would get a stomach ache from eating cold things, so the milk on the breakfast table was always warm from then on. One year, there was a shooting in a nearby district. I was in a supermarket shopping, trapped by the chaotic crowd. James found me against the crowd, covered my head with his coat. Don't look, follow me. I'll take you back. A week ago, he returned to the country. The moment he landed, he sent me his location. Contact me anytime if you need help. At this moment, a bizarre idea popped into my head. Is there a possibility that James really has a crush on me? I patted my head, driving this thought away. Impossible. The young master of the James family doesn't need to have a secret crush. Whoever he likes, he can say it openly. But is it possible that he didn't say it because I have an unfortunate fiancé? I almost forgot about this. I hurriedly checked my phone, to see who my fiancé was. After 5 minutes, I roughly confirmed that my fiancé's name was David. Judging by his photos on social media, he was quite a handsome guy. A few years ago, I might have liked this type. But for some reason, looking at it now, my heart feels nothing at all. Even with a slight annoyance, just as I planned to take a closer look at my chat history with David, a new update suddenly popped up in my social feed. After all the twists and turns, you are always my light, accompanied by a photo of a hand applying ointment, and the blurred outline of a man. I compared the photo to David's profile picture. It was the same person. Susie and I had many mutual friends, and soon, I saw a dozen comments below, all scolding Susie. Do you have any shame? Linda and David are getting engaged. What do you mean by posting this? Don't you know to keep a distance from your sister's fiancé? I also received a call from someone marked as Uncle Goo's contact. Linda, where are you? Don't worry. If David dares to break off the engagement, your uncle will deal with him. Don't be angry, come home, and we'll talk about it slowly, okay? But I wasn't angry at all. I pieced together the truth from the messages provided by everyone. So, for all these years, my cousin has had a crush on my fiancé? How thrilling! I must witness this drama firsthand. I rushed home eagerly. By the time I got home, the house was already in chaos. Both my family and the Goof family were almost all present, with Susie crying uncontrollably on one side, and David looking pale on the other. David said, Uncle, Aunt, I didn't say I wouldn't marry Linda. I just want to postpone the wedding. His dad stepped forward and slapped him. Listen to what you're saying. Is this something a person would say? David was hit and turned his head, saying nothing. Susie cried out and rushed forward to protect David. Uncle, don't hit David. Hit me instead. David's mother was so angry she was panting. Do you think I won't? You shameless thing, seducing even your brother-in-law. Our Goof family will never let you in. David protected Susie. Mom, she's a patient. Please don't provoke her anymore, okay? They argued fiercely, and no one noticed I had returned. I found a corner where no one was paying attention and sat down, secretly opened my phone, and chatted with James. Guess what? My fiancé seems to like my cousin. The screen showed typing. For a while. Finally, James replied with 4 words. What do you think? I said, I want to take a class with you. James was puzzled. What class? I said, romanticism. James didn't reply. Failed to flirt with the handsome guy. I sighed with my phone in hand. Before I could finish sighing, everyone suddenly realized I was back. David's mother rushed over in tears, grabbed my hand. Linda, this jerk wronged you. We've seen how much you've given for him over the years. Don't worry, you are the only daughter-in-law in your uncle and aunt's hearts. No one else can be. Susie stood behind, pale, her body swaying. David supported her, then came to me. Linda, I know this is very unfair to you, but Xiaoji is sick now. I just want to help her recover. Can we postpone our wedding for a while? Once Xiaoji recovers, we can get married. I was confused. Didn't David's profile say he studied business management in college? He wasn't a medical student, so what could he do for Susie's illness? I said, without much patience. Sorry, I only know divorce or death. Only cancellation, not postponement. If you don't want to marry, I also don't want to. Let's just cancel it altogether. And don't call me Linda. That's what my family calls me. We're not that close. It feels weird when you say it. David looked at me, stunned. After a long time, he said, Linda, what are you saying? We've been in love for 5 years, and now you tell me, we're not close? There was no point in hiding it anymore, so I decided to be honest. Okay, to tell you the truth, I remember nothing about you. Silence. A few seconds later, Susie let out a sharp cry. Sister, I know you hate me. David feels sorry for me because I'm sick, so he postponed marrying you. It's only right that you hate me. But you don't need to pretend to be sick like me, do you? Susie cried so hard, she almost couldn't breathe, collapsed to the ground, seemingly about to faint at any moment. David frantically supported her, then turned to scold me. Linda, you've really gone too far this time. You can be mad at me, but there's no need to pretend to have amnesia like Xiaoji. I know you can't understand how painful and helpless it is to lose your memory, but you should at least have some empathy, right? I pondered. Is it painful? Is it helpless? I don't feel that way. I was too lazy to argue, grabbed the medicine James prescribed me, and headed upstairs. Mom, Dad, I'm a bit tired today. I'll go upstairs to rest first. Please handle the cancellation for me. As I walked up the stairs, I could still hear David's voice below, sounding out of control. He said, Linda, I never said I wanted to break off the engagement. If you keep arguing, we'll really break up. Susie, who had been crying, immediately stopped crying, looking at David with anticipation. My steps paused. David thought I was afraid. I lowered my eyes, smiled. Congratulations, sister and brother-in-law, on a harmonious union. My parents fully supported me. Soon, my family announced the cancellation of the engagement. David and his parents did not agree, but my parents were resolute, returning all the gifts, cutting the wedding dress, and canceling the banquet. They also severed ties with Susie. David never came to find me again. He seemed genuinely angry. When he was drunk, he lamented to our mutual friends, I've spoiled Linda all these years. She pretends to have amnesia, causes a scene to break off the engagement, really outrageous. Even if I marry her, life won't be easy. Might as well let her calm down. After she calms down, she'll come to find me herself. His friends advised him, David, your fiancée is beautiful and comes from a good family. Aren't you afraid she'll run off with someone else? David shook his head. No. Linda is a sentimental person, and after all these years of love, she couldn't possibly let go. Someone quietly told me about this conversation. I scratched my head. It's not that I don't want to be sentimental, I just have nothing to be sentimental about. David is just a stranger to me now, and James is my current crush. I sent a message to James. I broke off the engagement. He didn't reply, but half an hour later, a delivery man appeared at my door, holding a huge bouquet of flowers. Hello, are you Miss Linda? These are from a Mr. Pei. The card on the flowers only had 2 words, congratulations. I really wanted to ask James what this meant, but I had a girls' night out that evening, and had to hurry. The girls at this gathering were my childhood friends. Recently, the news of my broken engagement with David had spread like wildfire in our circle. They all knew. The organizer was my best friend, Wendy. As soon as I sat down, she pushed a drink to my mouth. Linda, let me tell you, getting drunk solves all your worries. Before I could protest that I wasn't worried, she had already poured a whole bottle down my throat. Not everyone at the gathering was a true friend. Some had superficial relationships and didn't comfort me. They even made sarcastic remarks. Linda, really, why did you break off the engagement with David? Men like David, handsome and rich, are hard to find. You're not young anymore, and you might never meet a man of higher quality than David. I think you should go back and apologize to David. After all, you've been together for so many years. He won't ignore you. Wendy got angry and cursed, fueled by alcohol. David is a scumbag. Why go back and beg for a reunion with a scumbag? Listen to your sister, Linda. There are plenty of handsome men in the world. Wait, I'll get 2 male models for you. Wendy fiddled with her phone, and 2 minutes later, a tall, handsome figure appeared at our booth. Wendy was thrilled. Wow, you came quickly. She was so drunk she didn't recognize who it was. The 2 sober fake friends across from us were wide-eyed. The visitor was none other than the young master of the James group, James. One of the fake sisters immediately invited him over. Mr. Pei, sit over here. She cleared the seat next to her. Wendy was displeased. I called him for Linda, don't snatch him. She cheerfully greeted James. Handsome, sit next to my friend. James glanced at me. Wendy said, Yes, 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 it's her. Keep her company tonight. And I'll tip you. The two fake sisters across the table broke out in a cold sweat. James sat down beside me. In the light, his eyes were astonishingly beautiful. The more chaotic the surroundings, the more it highlighted his aloof elegance, as if he were not a mere mortal. My mouth went dry, my heart raced, and I quickly drank another bottle of wine to calm myself. This bottle completely knocked me out. When I woke up again, I was lying in the passenger seat of James' car. The car was filled with a pleasant cedar scent from James. His voice was cool. I'm in charge of taking you home. His voice was cold yet alluring. I called his name, James. He turned to look at me, his eyes reflecting the neon lights. Congratulations. He smiled. Congratulations on what? Do you have a girlfriend? No. Congratulations. I leaned over and kissed his lips. You have one now. I'm not usually a bold girl, and this was my only act of courage. I thought, if James refused, I'd run away and claim drunkenness tomorrow, pretending it never happened. James didn't move. He sat there, staring at me without blinking. Just as I was about to activate my escape plan, James suddenly acted. He cupped the back of my head, pulling me toward him, kissing me like a drowning man. I could hardly breathe. I heard him whisper in my ear, I wanted to take it slow. We couldn't take it slow. In the hotel's top-floor suite, I tore off James' tie. He had beautiful collarbones, his chest and abdominal muscles, faintly visible beneath his white shirt. I reached down, and James caught my wrist, his cold eyes flickering with final restraint. Linda, we don't have to rush tonight. I deliberately let go of his hand. If tonight passes, I might change my mind. I turned, pretending to leave, but James suddenly pulled me back. I fell heavily onto the pillow, looking at the lights. James, always known for his aloofness, had eyes now dyed with near-lost possessiveness. At first, I could still say teasing words, but later I could only softly plead. The moonlight was like water, soaking the world. As dawn approached, James finally held me. He stroked my hair, sighing softly in my ear. Linda, I've really waited for so many years. I fell asleep in a daze. It was almost noon when I woke up, sore and weak. James thoughtfully placed breakfast by the bed, warm porridge, soup dumplings, crispy toast, with fresh fruit, butter-fried eggs, and bacon. The alcohol had worn off. I lowered my head, daring not to look at James. He seemed unfazed. Not sure what you'd like, so I ordered everything. Seeing me silent with my head down, he paused. Everything I said last night counts. The rest is up to you. I was surprised, looked up at James. His skin was pale, the red marks on his neck were striking, one after another, spreading to his collarbone and chest. I didn't dare look further. My face felt on fire. I whispered, wouldn't that be bullying you? James sighed, helping me put the dumpling in the vinegar. It's fine. It's not the first time you've bullied me. I'm used to it. I had just eaten a dumpling when Wendy called. Her tone sounded like she was in trouble. Linda, where's the male model? I glanced at James beside me, unsure. I think he's next to me. Wendy was shocked. But I was drunk yesterday, and sent the message to my Italian tutor. So who came? Will he blackmail you? Seeing my embarrassment, James took the phone from me. It's okay, he said, I don't charge. Wendy was silent. After a long time, she said, give the phone to Linda. The phone was handed to me. Wendy said seriously, Linda, maybe the alcohol damaged my brain, but I feel like I just heard Mr. Pay's voice. I said, it's James. Wendy was silent again. She said, I think I drank too much. I'll go back to sleep. She hung up. After I finished breakfast, James and I were ready to leave, only to find that my clothes were so torn up, they were unwearable. The culprit, James, was looking calm. I asked the butler to bring some. True to being James' butler, the clothes arrived in 10 minutes. They were men's clothes. James was embarrassed, I'll take you to buy some. There wasn't a hint of embarrassment on his face. So, wearing James' shirt, I followed him to the shopping area next door. In the women's section, there was a couple shopping, and I heard the girl say sweetly, "David, I've never worn such expensive clothes. No one treats me as well as you do." The name sounded familiar, but I couldn't recall who it was. Just as I was about to walk away with James, I saw the couple freeze. The man behind me said in shock, "Linda?" Only when he walked up to me did I remember. It was David. I couldn't be blamed for not remembering. After all, he was just a stranger I'd met once. With him, shopping, was my cousin, Susie. Being relatives, there was no need for awkwardness, so I smiled and said, "Brother-in-law is shopping with his sister? That's nice." David seemed deaf to my words. He stared at the men's shirt I was wearing, then at James beside me. James, always buttoned up, was now casually open, revealing his alluring collarbone, and a lot of red marks. David suddenly clenched his hands, his knuckles turning white. "What's your relationship?" James said coolly. "Isn't it obvious?" David was suddenly enraged. He rushed up, swinging a punch at James' face. "Don't you know? She's someone else's fiancé." James easily dodged, then kicked David in the back of the knee. The store was in chaos. Ignoring the pain, David tried to drag me away. "Linda, come with me." Susie was left behind, staring at me with deep resentment. I shook off David's hand, grabbed James. "David, I don't know what happened between us, and I'm not interested. Anyway, it's over. I have a boyfriend. Please stay away from us." Maybe it was my illusion, but the always aloof Dr. Pei had a look of joy, like a stray dog finally claimed. David's eyes were red. He stared at me, shaking his head slowly. "I don't believe it. Linda, I don't believe it. We've been together for 5 years, about to get married. So many years of love. You say it's over, it's over? He's someone you found to anger me, right? Come back with me. Let's talk it over." David reached for me again. James stepped in front of me. "Mr. Gu, I hope you understand human language. Of course, if your brain is really sick," James said coolly, "I have some training in veterinary medicine and can diagnose you." David looked at James, his fists clenched, but he didn't dare swing again. James took my hand. "Shall we go?" I said, "Let's go." We turned and left, side by side. Even from afar, I could feel David standing behind us, staring at me. James and I strolled around the mall, buying a lot. Dresses, coats, jewelry, bags. He silently followed me, noting my preferences. Several times, I couldn't help but stop him. "Too expensive, forget it." James said calmly, "Money is for you to spend." In the end, he hired 2 people to help carry the bags to the car. On our way out, we ran into Wendy. She looked freshly sober, wide-eyed, looking at me, then at James, and finally at all the bags James bought. Her eyes suddenly reddened. She rushed over and hugged me tightly. "My sister is amazing. Truly remarkable." Before I could stop her, Wendy happily ran off. She hosted 10 gatherings in one night, dedicated to spreading the tale of Mr. Pei's lavish pampering. Soon, everyone knew I was with James. Various people tried to get the inside scoop. During this time, David called me many times. Annoyed, I blocked him. Remembering Susie, I blocked her too. A month later, James went on a business trip. Home alone, I got a message from my high school class president, asking for a coffee meeting about industry issues. I agreed. At the cafe, I was surprised to see David. I turned to leave, but David quickly grabbed my wrist. "Linda, I asked the class president to lie for me. Otherwise, I don't know how long this will go on." David looked much thinner, once the school heartthrob, now emaciated, cheeks sunken. "My mom is in the hospital over this. Linda, can we stop this?" I took a deep breath. "David, are you blind? Or just stupid? I've been with James for a while. You saw it yourself." David held my wrist. "Linda, we've known each other for years. I know you better than anyone. You can fool others, but not me. I know, you're a girl who longs for marriage. For happiness. Someone like James, a rich second generation, can only waste your youth, never giving you a real future. You're doing this to anger me, because Susie delayed our wedding, right? Come back with me. We'll marry immediately. David looked at me confidently. I looked back at him. Blood boiled within me, and I picked up my phone, dialing a number. Hello, James. Due to the time difference, it was night on James' side. His voice sounded sleepy. What's up? Would you marry me? The call abruptly ended. David chuckled. See what I mean? The phone soon rang again. It was James calling. He said, I'm downstairs, heading to the airport now. Wife, you better keep your word. I glanced at David, who stood there, his face turning pale, and I turned to leave. At the street corner, someone stopped me. It was Susie. She looked worse than David. At that moment, Susie stared at me darkly, filled with endless hatred. Why are you still trying to seduce David? You've already broken up. Don't you have any shame? I looked at her coldly. Which I saw me seduce him? If you didn't seduce him, why would he call your name even in his sleep? I said flatly, if you don't like hearing it, just smother him with a pillow. It's no use talking to me. Susie paused, then suddenly laughed. It doesn't matter. Even if he can't let you go, it's okay. He's mine now anyway. She looked up at me, tears glistening in her eyes as she laughed. I'm pregnant with his child. Even if he loves you more, so what? He can't leave me now. He'll never leave. You were with him for 5 years, so what? In the end, he still belongs to me. I calmly replied. I don't remember those 5 years. Shouldn't you know that best? Susie sneered, shaking her head. Don't pretend with me, cousin. Aren't you just copying me? I pretended to have amnesia, and now you do too, thinking it'll win David back. Isn't it a lame trick? I found a document on my phone, and showed it to Susie. It was my diagnosis report, stamped by the medical lab James belonged to. See? Diagnosed with selective amnesia. I said calmly, then looked at Susie. So, you were pretending? Susie's lips trembled, because she saw a figure emerge from the alley. It was David. He followed me and overheard everything. Panic surged in Susie. She rushed forward. David, I'm sorry. But David didn't listen to her. He just stared at me. Linda, so everything from before, do you really not remember any of it? I nodded. At that moment, I saw the utmost pain in David's eyes. He suddenly broke down. You can't forget. We were so in love. You can't forget. My taxi arrived. Even as I drove away, I saw in the rearview mirror, David kneeling on the ground, crying helplessly. The next I heard of David and Susie was their engagement. It seemed that after accepting reality, David finally let go of me. He doted on Susie, buying a wedding dress and ring, saying he wanted to give her the best. But at the peak of Susie's happiness, David ran away from the wedding. At the ceremony, he left only a letter for Susie. The only person I ever wanted to marry is Linda. Susie was devastated. She slit her wrists in the hotel, begging David to return. But David coldly said, first amnesia, now suicide. Would you dare do anything for real? In despair, Susie really slit her wrists. Hotel staff found her and rushed her to the hospital, but it was too late. Susie became a vegetative state. Public opinion erupted. The Gu family couldn't bear the pressure. David's mother fell critically ill. His father went gray overnight. David had to sell his company to handle the aftermath. I occasionally got updates about him from mutual friends. He was doing terribly. After selling the company, he drank heavily every day, until a month ago when he was diagnosed with stomach cancer. Refusing treatment, his condition rapidly worsened. Before his death, David sent word, wanting to see me one last time. The friend who brought the message didn't know about my amnesia, saying, Linda, if you hate him, don't go. I thought about it, my heart clear and clean, no hatred remaining. So I decided to go. In the hospital room, David was so withered. He was unrecognizable. On his deathbed, his mind seemed unclear. Seeing me, he smiled happily. "Linda, you're here." His illness was so pitiable that I didn't correct him this time. We sat quietly for a while, once passionately in love, now silent and without words. Outside, the rain began to patter softly. David smiled. "It's raining. When I first met you, it was also a rainy day. I was running the long-distance race in the school games. The rain was heavy. All the contestants gave up, but I kept running alone. Later, I was exhausted and wanted to quit, when suddenly a girl ran out to join me. Linda, that was the first time I met you. At that moment, I thought, when I finish this race, I want to ask this girl's name. I want to chase her and make her my girlfriend. I flew over 10 hours to confess, but left the gift on the plane, and my wallet was stolen. I thought this confession would fail, but you hugged me, said it was okay, as long as I was safe. You agreed to be my girlfriend. That was my happiest day." The rain grew heavier. David suddenly cried, "Linda, I really messed up. If only I could be 18 forever. That version of me would never betray Linda." David lay on the bed, his eyes red as he looked at me, his voice humble in its plea. "Can you forget the later me and only remember the good me?" I didn't know why, but I felt like crying. Whether for the dying David or the 5 missing years in my memory. A tear fell. I softly said, "Sorry, David, I can't. Remember, I have amnesia. All I can do is forget both the bad you and the good you. It's the last thing I can do for you." As I left the hospital room, David's heart stopped. Doctors and nurses rushed in. I walked out against the flow, and James stood outside, holding me tightly. The sun shone brightly outside. I knew the eraser had wiped away the messy past, leaving me only the future to paint with effort.